Hello and welcome. In this video, we're comparing the way both teams execute their engagements on point A of Anubis. Now, I want to keep this video as short as possible, so I'm only analyzing the very first attack from both teams. So let's get started. You absolutely want to emulate the way Lunatic attacks point A. It's very well done. And they do it by filling the map, and they do it very patiently. So what does that mean? Let's kind of break that down. So first, filling the map. What does that mean? It means that as a team, they're going to contest and push out flanks as much as possible without initiating fights. They are not looking to initiate fights. Now, what does patience have to do with that? The members that are assigned to pushing out these flanks have to do it very slowly, very methodically, and no one can get in front of each other. They kind of have to like leapfrog, if you will, where in a very organic manner, they're just going to not get too far ahead of each other. They're going to push out flanks slowly, make sure no one's getting too deep before someone else hasn't checked, a flank that's, nearby. And, everyone's going to do this by checking corners, looking for pesky flankers, sneaky ones, looking for clues, like if an opponent Sombra hacked a health pack, or maybe they see nothing, and that's important too. So, it's very important that as a team, everyone just kind of push out, report back to each other, communicate, and then depending on what they see, react accordingly. Maybe someone's going to see the opponents hunkering down in a spot that they didn't expect, and then, okay, cool. Then they can back off and their team can rotate accordingly. Far too often, we'll see teams just kind of rush onto the point with speed boost, YOLO, and hope for the best, even at the professional level. And on that note, we're actually going to see that in this video, that tactic. It's something that should be used sparingly. It's good to use sometimes to catch your opponents off guard, but at the highest level of Overwatch, we should be using that tactic we should be seeing that tactic very rarely. It simply can't be abused. Okay, so why is filling the map patiently important? It's important because you want to make sure that you don't have any exposed flanks, or that that you're fairly certain that your flanks are secure. You want to be as certain as possible, and in order to do that, you need to be as methodical as possible. Especially when you have a Zenyatta, he needs space to kind of work in, and that way he can put in his work. So it's very important that as a team you very judiciously push out your flanks and communicate about what you see, and then react accordingly. Cool. So let's talk about everyone's role here. Okay, so first we have the Winston. He's going to, in this case, he's going to check this room first. Once he's done with that, he's going to kind of leap up here, and then just kind of get a lay of the land for this general area. And then once he's fairly certain that this is kind of secure, then he can push this way. Oops, horrible arrow, sorry. Yeah, that way. Okay. And then he can move here. Cool. All right. Tracer, very similarly, she's going to check this area. Once it's clear, push this way. Also not a very good arrow. Cool. All right. Now we got the diva. At this point in this phase, she's kind of a middleman. She can help the front line if they need it, or collapse onto the back line. If they found any unexpected flanks. So she's kind of like a bodyguard in that sense. Cool. Widowmaker, not a whole lot to say here. She has great sightlines to push forward, as you do on Anubis point A. So she's got this whole area. It's great. Okay. Now we have the Lucio and the Zen. They're kind of in between the front line and the Widow. And they're just going to, as the team pushes forward, specifically Winston and Tracer, then they can be more comfortable pushing forward as well. Cool. Now, once they've kind of slowly done this, excuse me, now like Diva can kind of like, leapfrog forward a little bit. Winston can follow up after her, Tracer as well. Lucio and Zenyatta can kind of get on this middle-ish ground. And then, now Zenyatta and Widowmaker have great synergy here. If anyone tries to dive them head on, Widow has Zenyatta's back. If anyone tries to, go for the Widow as well, Zenyatta, wow, these arrows, Zenyatta has her back. So pretty nice synergy there. Cool. And and it's off the back of this really nice methodical pushing. So it's great. Cool. Now let's move on to the defense. Okay. So from KongDoo Panthera, what we're gonna see here is to start off, we're gonna see Sombra. She's gonna hack this mini over here. Then she's gonna kind of scout this way. She's gonna see the Widow report that back to her team, and then just kind of be on this side of the map with Genji. So she'll be kind of over here. And this team, you know, they don't really have a backline, or, you know, let's say a traditional backline. It's all pretty much fighters ready to just kind of jump in. So, you know, in that sense, they were kind of hoping that Lunatic High would just kind of either rush onto the point or, you know, rush into this area. In either case, this team does pretty well. They can brawl, they can fight, and that's kind of what they were hoping for. But Lunatic High is not a dumb team. You know, arguably the best team in the world. So this strategy, you know, maybe they kind of knew something that we don't, and so they knew that they thought that this would be a good strategy. But Lunatic High, they read it very well. They had the right comp to counter it. And you know, not specifically, or not just the right comp, but the kind of the right, you know, attitude, or the right methodology. This tactic where they're filling the map, and they're, you know, again, they're doing it patiently. It works with a lot of comps, if not, you know, most or all. It's just like a smart tactic to do in most cases, or all cases. Or, you know, at least like a little bit. Again, you know, we see teams just kind of do that Lucio speed boost onto the point strategy. If you're going to do that, at least just kind of check your corners a little bit, just get a small sense of what's going on. But if not, I really like teams to fill out the map as much as they can, as often as they can. Okay, let's not beat a dead horse. Okay, cool. Now, because Lunatic High does this strategy, it really catches KongDoo Panthera on the defense off guard. It feels like they just kind of stagnate. They don't really know how to fight because, again, the Widow's covering the space on the point, and they're kind of separated in a way that's not particularly advantageous to them. But there actually was a play that KongDoo Panthera could have done to kind of come back from this. Because what you're going to see is Lunatic High is just going to stomp them. But again, there was something they could have done. So this Genji right here, he's going to get stuck here, but he actually has an opportunity to get a nice flank off, which we will go over in a moment. So now let's get into the video. Okay, cool. All right. So look at these movements. They're so beautifully done. I don't know if you just noticed that little stutter that Tracer did. Same with Winston. They're just kind of like very, you know, they're dancing with their environment. I love that. They're using line of sight. They're checking all their corners. They're being very patient. You know, like we said, Tracer's checking this area, Winston's checking this area, and then everyone else can kind of follow suit afterwards. There it is. There it is. They're Widow on the high ground. We just saw Winston on the left jump up to that left side area to check that. Cool. And then, you know, at this point, KongDoo Panthera is kind of already in a bind. But now is the time that I want to bring up this Genji, as we can see on our screen. Right now, given what the offense is doing, he has an opportunity to, if we go back to here, he has an opportunity to fall back, well, not to fall back, to get a deep flank through that window over here, and then he can either attack Zenyatta, or go for a flank onto Widowmaker. I would probably prefer the Widowmaker flank, but right now he has that opportunity, and actually he even has more time. In my opinion, he probably has even a few more seconds to make this decision and pull it off, because in a moment, Lunatic High is going to start pushing KongDoo Panthera out, you know, and back. And like we said, KongDoo Panthera is a team that wants to just brawl. So Lunatic High is not going to give him that opportunity with the way that KongDoo Panthera set up their defense. Again, KongDoo Panthera was hoping Lunatic High would just kind of rush in, and then KongDoo Panthera could match that. Unfortunately, Lunatic High way too smart for that, and they do it very slowly. Cool. So you see Genji there. He's just kind of poking, not quite sure what to do. We see. Let me go back a little bit. Sorry. So we're gonna see expert use of line of sight. So right here, we're gonna see expert usage of this wall and this wall so Winston's gonna use this wall very well, and Tracer's gonna use this wall very well. D.Va's gonna be behind them, supporting them, and they're just gonna, again, they're gonna just very methodically push KongDoo Panthera out. And notice how they don't greed for kills. This Tracer's not gonna, she's not gonna chase that Winston. She's just gonna push this Winston out. D.Va on the top right, she's gonna kind of push her out too, and then they're gonna start moving towards the point. So notice how they don't kind of greed up into that high ground room where a lot of lesser teams would have just kind of like, you know, oh, let's go in there and smash their heads in. No. You know, Overwatch is a highly tactical game, and you know, and they respect that. and they don't get more ground than they need. And like we said, they're not looking to initiate fight. They're just looking to create space and contest the flanks, push them out, create space for the backline like Zenyatta and Widow. Cool. So she pushes them out, and then she kind of goes in here. Again, look at how much time she takes to kind of check the corners, and we're gonna see this for the next few seconds where she looks back, or he looks back to his teammates and just kind of gets the lay of the land, make sure that no one's flanking them, etc., etc. So this very patient, slow, methodical offense is just so excellent to see. And notice how we're at 33 minutes and 36 seconds, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe I think D.Va touched the point at 3:37. So 23 seconds to touch the point, where a lot of lesser teams would have just kind of rushed it. We're going to see KongDoo Panthera, they actually touch it on the offense in 11 seconds. So you can already see just the drastic difference. But, Lunatic High, those extra seconds don't really matter to them if they get the attack on the, very cleanly on the first, or maybe cleanly on the second. So, again, it's very important that teams take their time. It's so valuable. It's way better than, more just head smashing tactics. So very awesome to see. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Again, we see this kind of stuttering. She's going back and forth, making sure her team's with her, push forward. And now we see this Genji right here. He made that critical mistake we talked about. He stagnated here when he had the opportunity a while ago to go through that window and get a nice flank off, alleviate pressure off of his teammates. Instead, he kind of just bites the bullet here. And this fight is, from a strategic, slash positional standpoint, this fight's kind of over. There's not a whole lot KongDoo Panthera could have done here. The one last play they had was Genji, again, doing that flank, and then they could have worked around that, put pressure on the Widow, then they could brawl on the point. Unfortunately, the Widow's uncontested, as is Zenyatta. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. Yeah, so we'll just kind of let this play out. It's pretty awesome to see. Cool. You're going to see Winston in a moment. He's going to kind of just dive in as a last-ditch effort onto Zen. He's just going to get stuffed. With this perfect, I don't want to say perfect, but with this very, good offense, that's kind of what you'd expect when a team just kind of dives you head on. So awesome to see. Rascal here goes for a Hail Mary with the MP. It doesn't work out. So the key takeaway here is that engagements are not a race. They are a marathon. It's just, I guess, yeah. So it's so exciting to see this kind of level of play from Lunatic High. And, they have their faults too and their flaws, but it's so awesome to see this kind of strategy. And, we didn't see it perfect throughout the entire series, but damn, was this good. So good. Okay. And just as a final note, for KongDoo Panthera, if they had probably switched Reaper, with this kind of defense, if they had put Reaper on like a Soldier or an Ana, probably a better call. This probably works a little bit better because they can kind of use their high ground better. But unfortunately, with the Reaper, there's kind of this disconnect with this fight, the way this fight unfolded, because Reaper, he can't really quite get onto the point and brawl with the Widow there. So in this particular, and this is, hindsight. So I'm definitely not saying that they should have, picked Soldier and I'm just saying, given the circumstances, that would have been better. But again, they had a card to play, which was, again, Genji flanking. That would have made this not so lopsided. It would have made it more 50-50. Okay, cool. Let's move on to KongDoo Panthera's offense, which is at 27-20. Okay, so to their credit, KongDoo Panthera, they do pretty well given the circumstances. From a strategic standpoint, they're lacking. They try to outmuscle their opponents. We're going to see the strategy where they just kind of rush onto the point, YOLO, and they try to fight. And there's not much to say else than that. So we'll kind of let this play for a little bit. Cool. So right here, the point is touched. 11 seconds have passed. So we can compare that to the 23 seconds that Lunatic High took. Those extra 12 seconds, very, very critical. It makes all the difference in the world. So cool. I hope that sticks. Okay. Cool. So let's play out a little bit more. Cool. So right here, you're about to see this fight kind of, and there it is. Okay. So this is awesome to see. We have we have from the defense, from Lunatic High, we have the Tracer, the Sombra, and the Winston. And then, if I'm not mistaken, the rest of the team is just up here on the top left. That's it. This fight is from like a positional, again, from a strategic positional standpoint, it's kind of over. Like, there's not much KongDoo Panthera can do here, but there is kind of a lot to unpack. So let's kind of talk about this. So first, you're going to notice Sombra from KongDoo Panthera, the offense, is going to kind of come in here, and you would think that she wants to hack this health pack, but she actually doesn't. We're going to go over that soon. That's going to be very important. And I believe this was a conscious decision from Sombra or from the team that she doesn't do this, or he doesn't do this. So we'll get back to that in a moment. Okay, I want to highlight Miro's Winston up here. So awesome. Obviously one of the best Winstons in the world, and he knows. And one of the reasons why is because he knows when to use jump pack to get into position versus when to dive. A lot of Winstons, they only know one type of jump pack, and that's to go and do damage and dive. Miro, he understands when he needs to get into position first, and then when to dive. So it's a very important skill that Winstons need to master. Miro is so good at it. It's awesome to see. I love it. A lesser Winston here would have just dove onto the point and died and been like, hey team, like, where were you? So yeah, okay, cool. Now KongDoo Panthera, their comp is very interesting. It's actually the same thing they ran when they were on defense. And like we talked about, there's no backline here. So this situation is actually not that bad for them to be onto the point. Them getting kind of sandwiched and pincered like this, not too bad, particularly because there's no Widow to punish this. So them brawling here is actually not that bad. Again, there's no backline to be collapsed on, so this kind of works, and you're going to see them do a pretty good job given the circumstances. They're very resilient to flanks with a composition like this. Okay, so last thing I want to highlight right here, the ticks. Lunatic High, similar to their offense, very, very patient. They are willing to give up ticks because as a team, they understand that point A ticks just don't really matter that much. Once you lose a fight on the defense of point A, it doesn't matter if you had 0, 1, or 2 ticks. You're probably just going to lose the point because it's very hard to stall. Whereas on point B, ticks are very important because they're very valuable. Because stalling is very possible from the defense. So every tick is very valuable on point B. Ticks on point A, not so valuable. So it's really cool to see Lunatic High understand that. You're going to see them give up 2 ticks in order to properly set up this fight, as we're seeing now. They're very patient. The Tracer, the Sombra, the Winston, all getting into proper positions. And then when they're ready, they go for the fight. So really cool. Okay. Cool. So we see Sombra on the right. She doesn't go for the health pack. And they're just getting kind of collapsed on right here. Now, right here, boom, you're going to see this Tracer. She got hacked, and she's going to bite the bullet, so she can't recall. Yeah, so she got hacked. She can't recall, so she's dead. Now, this goes back to what we talked about earlier, where Rascal from KongDoo Panthera decided to not hack that health pack. Now, this is kind of a high-risk, high-reward play. They do get the kill, but this is actually going to bite them in the butt later. They don't actually capitalize after getting this kill. Because what's going to happen later is the defense, Lunatic High, they're going to get the first EMP because of the fact that they had a hacked health pack and they used it. Whereas KongDoo Panthera, they don't. So actually, Lunatic High is going to get the first EMP, and that's actually going to be the last thing that kind of turns the fight back into their favor. So this play, pretty risky, and it almost worked out. But the safer bet would have actually been to hack the health pack. That might have made this fight a little bit better, but it's hard to say because they don't get this kill as well. So I can't knock on them for this play. It was a cool play to see. It just unfortunately didn't work out. Okay. And just kind of one final note. It's actually pretty impressive that Lunatic High were able to bounce back after this Tracer dies. But it kind of makes sense because Lunatic High is very well known for having super good support, super good tanks, arguably the best in the world, or some of the best in the world. When you take Who Are You out of the equation, and as you know, Who Are You was not playing this match. They subbed in Guido. So anyways, just kind of as a side note, but still impressive. Okay, cool. So they're going to trade this. They're going to get this Tracer, but then they're going to trade it for the Diva Mech. So this fight you're gonna see just kind of goes back and forth. Pretty soon you're gonna see this Lucio stay alive for so long on the side of Lunatic High. So right here. So let's kind of go back again. Let's kind of see that. And actually we're gonna see more of that. So let's go back about right here. So keep an eye on this Lucio. Oh wait, right there. So keep an eye on this guy. For the next, like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 seconds, Jaehong is going to keep him up for so long. It is so awesome to see. So, you know, and props to the diva as well. Obviously, she put in work too. Zumba, amazing, amazing. But the heals were on point. So let's kind of see this. He's almost dead. Still getting healed. Still getting healed. Oh, so awesome. The synergy between those two is just amazing. And then they pull it back. And then we're going to see an EMP in a second. We got the Boostio. Oh man, there's the MP, and at this point the fight's pretty much over. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So cool. I'll let this play out for a few more seconds. We get some closure. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So cool. Nice pulse bomb there. Nice left clicking. I love it. Okay, cool. I think that's enough. So the takeaway from this video, I hope, is that, again, engagements, they're not a race. They are absolutely a marathon. It's very important that you take your time to set up, you fill the map, you do it patiently, you dot all your I's, cross all your T's, and react according to what your opponents do. It's a very important skill to master, and it should be used the majority of the time, in my opinion, if not close to all the time. So, and King of the Hill is another good example. Far too often I see teams, even at the professional level, they'll just rush for King of the Hill maps. They'll just rush onto the point or like near the point, or they'll go for high ground and just kind of take their opponent's head on. The key thing to remember about King of the Hill is you have 30 seconds till the point unlocks. Blizzard designed it that way for a reason. They really wanted teams to kind of, tactically set up how they wanted, and then, react accordingly to your opponents. And far too often, again, we see teams just kind of bash their head against each other and just try to mechanically outskill each other. And Overwatch has far more to offer than that. So just as a note to anyone out there, try to slow your teams down when it comes to King of the Hill, and especially, not just especially, but also, other maps too. Don't be afraid to take those extra 10-ish seconds to set up how you want. It can make the difference between a clean win or you getting stomped. So, cool. I hope this video was educational. If you liked it, please subscribe. If this video gets a lot of subscribers, and likes and stuff, I will absolutely do another one for the grand finals. So please let me know. Thank you very much.